Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Vaditamastu Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, yesterday evening session, today morning session, both were important foundations to go forward. I know many of you are eager to have Kriya now. So, I say, now because we have half a day tomorrow, and I say, oh, this guy is going to escape now. In 1 hour in the evening and he's out and then finished, no Kriya. So, not true. I'm going to look into Kriya. But before that, in the evening we will take off some of the questions which are still here, not answered. Not now. Let me first explain to you, especially those who are here for the first time. This you can record. Only when people start blowing from the nose, you should stop. So, let's give you a background of what Kriya is, what it does and what it does not. Then, by the end of this session at 12 o'clock, you can decide if you want Kriya or you don't want Kriya. Okay? If you want Kriya, you can sit here. If you don't want Kriya, it's a beautiful place. You can go around, go to the temple, walk around, do what you want. Just now I saw a turkey, so you can go and see the turkeys. However, if you are still interested and I haven't dissuaded you enough, then you can stay on. Also, those who have taken Kriya before can stay on, because it will be like a review for them. And you are looking for a practical, so now Kriya is the practical. So, first of all, what do I mean, or what is the meaning of the word Kriya? Kriya simply means method, practice, technique. So everybody is looking for techniques. So technique, method, practice, all this can be put in Kriya. Having said that, we should understand what we discussed yesterday and today, that there is no technique to find the truth. There are no techniques. It's not an engineering feat. There are no techniques. However, you can prepare the ground from where it's possible to take off. Yes. Perhaps. If you look at other things, not just the practice. So, now that means there must be many Kriyas, because Yoga Shastra is ancient. You find it even from the Upanishad down, if I can show you some examples of the practice of yoga. Because when you say yoga or Kriya, while the philosophical and metaphysical truths can be theoretically understood from the Upanishads and so on, when you need to touch them, or when you need to go closer to that, the ordinary instruments of perception that we have are not going to work. So we need to develop something more than that. Rather, what is dormant in all needs to be made kinetic, awakened. This is the need of practice. Sadhana is not to find the truth, but to prepare yourself to open your windows, so that when the breeze blows, you are not close to your windows. It comes in. You can't dictate when the wind is going to blow, but you can keep your windows open. And sadhana is a technique to do that. That's it. It's not that through Kriya you can go and grab the reality and bring it, but you are ready to receive it it's clear, the mind is clear, it's not filled with prejudices and preconceived ideas, and therefore open to receive. This is important. And also, as I said in the morning, it's one way to harness all the energy that is in you, which is usually dissipated, and bring it to one point. Yeah. So, since the Yoga Shastra, I'm not saying Yoga Sutra, Yoga Shastras are ancient, starting from Yajnavalkya Yoga, Kathopanishad down, and then to the Yogacara school of Buddhism, and after that the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and so on. It's a vast literature. And then there are the textbooks of the Nath Sampradaya, Gharanda Samhita, Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati, Shiva Samhita, and of course the Hatha Pradipika of Swatma Rama, who was also a Nath. So all these textbooks exist, so there must be many Kriyas. It's very interesting to note that when the one authority who is very well respected was Patanjali, who wrote the sutras. They're called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. A sutra is an aphorism, and it requires somebody to interpret it, because it's so concise. So, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which are kind of codified yoga and made it systematic, and which actually post-date the Yogacara Buddhist school. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali do not describe themselves. Patanjali nowhere calls his system Ashtanga Yoga. Although it has 8 angas, so popularly people call it Ashtanga Yoga. Nowhere in the text does Patanjali refer to it as Ashtanga Yoga. In fact, he calls it Kriya Yoga. If you read the Yoga Sutras, you will see it. Begins by saying, so let's start the study of Kriya Yoga and the requisites for it. So, and therefore there are many Kriyas in this. In the ancient traditions, there are many Kriyas, many techniques, many methods. But when I say Kriya, I'm talking of that particular Kriya which has come down to me from a certain tradition. The other Kriyas need not be wrong, please keep in mind. They may be right, but when I say Kriya, I'm talking about that particular stream which has come to me from a certain tradition, partly Nath, because my personal guru was from the Nath Sampradaya, and it was the Naths who saved yoga actually from going obscure. And also, his guru was something or someone called Sri Guru Babaji. So, therefore, when I say Kriya, I'm talking about that particular Kriya which has come from that tradition. Which does not mean that there are no other Kriyas. Please understand this. So, this is the Kriya that I'm talking about. So what does it mean? Why is Kriya done? Kriya is not practiced to develop supramental powers, to float, walk on water or levitate in the air. That's not the aim of yoga. Well, of course, the Ashtasiddhis say various things, but they have to be looked in very, very carefully to understand what they mean. For instance, there is one of the Ashtasiddhis or capacities that the yogi develops to the practice of Kriya is called Laghima, which means lightness. That doesn't mean that you become physically light and you can fly in the air. Basically, it means that you become light-hearted, totally. Yet your mind becomes very light. Well, the body also does, but not that it can leave the earth. Okay. So that we won't discuss right now, but these are some of the side effects of practice of yoga. But the central point of Kriya is what we are going to discuss. I'm talking from the Kriya that I have inherited. So there may be difference from other. If somebody has already taken Kriya from the Self-Realization Fellowship or the YSS, in India, Yogoda Satsang Society, they really don't have to take Kriya now because it's very similar. No much difference. The central thing is the same. There may be a little bit of difference here and there outside, but it's okay. However, if you have taken Kriya from other sources, I can't guarantee that. I can't say that this is the same. This I can say, because it kind of comes from the same parampara in a way, though through various circuits, but it's the same thing. So, now I'm going to explain Kriya per se, what it is. According to yoga, yoga anatomy and physiology may be slightly different from the other. The human body, or the human system, has innumerable channels through which energy flows. Innumerable. However, the main or important channels is the left, the right, and the central. Now the left and the right channels, which is called Ida and Pingala, I'm going to do a diagram here, are the main channels which are functioning for most of us at most times. And it's enough that the energy flows through them for any activity on this earth, including studying, learning, physical activity, food, eating, sex, paid, everything can be handled very well when the energy is moving through these channels. However, if you need to go into the interiors of your consciousness, if you need to move out from just the ordinary functioning of this world and go to higher things, you need to kind of gather these energies which are in the Ida and the Pingala, bring them to the Muladhara, which is the end of the spine, and then make them travel along a new path called the Sushumna. Now whether the Sushumna is in the spine or whether it is part of the vagus nerves, this is a discussion that's still going on, so I don't want to comment on that. It's very controversial. However, it's a fact that somewhere in the center there is a channel from which, when the prana or the energies begin to operate, then your awareness rises from the gross to the subtle, to the subtler and the subtler, and finally you touch that which cannot be understood by the five senses. For that you need to open other instruments of perception, and some of them are placed in the central channel through which the energy travels till it reaches the top of the head, which is the Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus. Please, God has no role to play in anything. You're not looking for God outside, you're looking for making yourself into God, not God-man. So, this movement is the practice of Kriya, and Kriya is the way how to do this, channelize this, and open up the center of perception which takes your awareness to the higher levels, to start with. Now, one thing is clear, that unless you practice, you can't reach perfection in this matter. Not that you learn and is there in your mind, therefore you will reach perfection. No. Daily practice, hard work is required. I have worked very hard. So you need to work very hard. Simple. If you do it without working hard, I would get jealous of you. So, Okay. So how to go about doing this? This is what we are going to study. Before that, there are four basic rules to be followed in the practice. They are called yama niyamas. Actually, there are many rules and regulations, but if you follow these four, you're kind of okay. They're not I won't say they're easy, but they're not too bad. And these four, living in this world which we are in. One, of course, is, which you can definitely practice at least once a day. If you do twice, it's okay. But once a day, surely you have to practice. Otherwise, don't complain, it's not working. And don't take Kriya, because it's a waste of time and energy for me and for you. So, if you take Kriya, please make sure that you practice at least once a day. At least. And the best time to practice Kriya is, of course, in the morning, early morning, even before the sunrise. But you can practice at any time during the day, because Kriya really has no time. There's one condition in Kriya, which is why we are not going to practice now. We are going to do the theory. That if you have had a heavy meal, khichdi being tasty, I'm sure many people must have stuffed themselves. So if you have had a full meal, not even a heavy meal, a full meal, then for 2.5 hours, don't practice Kriya. You can practice, but it can cause complications in your digestive system. If you don't mind, it's okay. So, then you have to be careful, because we are a hall full of people here. So if it interferes with your digestion, it will turn out to be let go and rejoice. Then others may not necessarily rejoice. So one is practice once a day. Okay? I'm trying to wake everybody up. Practice once a day. And two, so you can practice at any time. And in any place, even in a cremation ground, there's no condition out there. In fact, a cremation ground is the best place to practice Kriya, because you're daily reminded of where you're going to end. It's great. And nobody usually comes to disturb you. They're afraid of it. So, or a graveyard for that matter. Anyway, so, and this is a question frequently asked, especially by people from India, and when we have the periods or menses, can we practice? No bar. You can practice it at any time. Kriya has no such condition. Okay? So once a day, preferably in the morning. The second rule is, try as much as possible to stick to the truth in your daily life. Now, this might be a tall order, but I think it's possible to try your best. In this world, you may not be able to always practice it 100%, because we live in a world of make-believe. All the ads we see are all make-believe. So we are living in a false setup, but still, try your best in your personal life to stick to the truth as much as you can. It's quite a contradiction that if I lie 24/7 and I'm aiming to find the absolute truth, it's quite a contradiction. Okay, but try your best. May not be always possible, especially if you're a lawyer or, So, the second rule. The third rule is, try as much as you can to lead a simple life, in the sense that don't peg your happiness on your possessions. That's what it means. Not that how much you have or you don't have, but don't peg your happiness or tranquility on how many possessions you have. In fact, the less you have, the better you feel, simpler life. And eat simple food. And don't go into extremes in anything. Moderation is the key. It's actually called the middle path. So moderation, it means don't eat too much. Don't eat too little. Don't sleep too much. Or don't sleep too little. And so on. This is just a guideline. Surely you can watch TV, but don't watch TV all night. I don't want to name the contents of the TV, but so moderation is the key. When you see that you're overindulging in something, put a stop to it. That includes the initial enthusiasm in trying to meditate 6 hours at a stretch. Moderate. You're running into trouble. Okay, so we have discussed this. The other is, try to, as far as you can, not to cause injury to other living beings. Include human beings in it, which doesn't mean that if somebody is trying to trouble you, you should put up your hands and stay defenseless. That's not what I mean. The Arabs have a saying, trust in God, but tie your camel. So tie your camel, use some common sense. But as far as possible, don't try to cause injury to other living beings. You can hiss as much as you want, but don't bite. But the problem is very soon people come to know that this guy only hisses, he doesn't bite. Anyway, so these are some ground rules to be followed. Most important, of course, is daily practice, because we believe that if you daily practice and your mind becomes quiet and you kind of begin to tap into that source of energy, all other things will be put in place. So it's important. Okay, on the practical side, always have a small rug or asan for yourself, and don't give it to anybody. Use it. Don't even give it to your lover girl or your wife or anybody. Keep it yourself. She can have her own. Roll it up when you're not practicing and keep it away. Because the seed builds your own patterns, and it should remain without interference. So have your own. And when you practice, especially in the beginning, preferably try to do it alone. Of course, if two people are there in a family and both of them are interested, you can do it together. Otherwise, try to find a place where you're not disturbed, you can sit down and practice your Kriya. The results of the Kriya are decided by your dedication, your one-pointedness, and your understanding of what you're trying to do, and practice, rigorous practice. All these things count. Okay, now I'm going to draw the channels of the system so that when I start talking about the practice, you have an idea what we're doing. Those who have already taken... Anything? No, you said something. Yeah. She reminded me of a very important point. And that point is also, if you learn Kriya, don't immediately start teaching Kriya to people. Because we know nothing and we're trying to teach somebody. And if something goes wrong, you cannot help that person. You don't know what to do. You may come to me and say that something is wrong, and I can probably catch you and give you a slap or something and make you okay. But if you don't know, don't start slapping people. If you don't know, If you don't know what to do yourself, how can you teach? So it's very important. Now, the other thing is, as soon as you take Kriya, don't set up shop. It's very important. Because you say, where did you take Kriya from? Oh, from Sri M. So it is authentic, probably, yes. So, can you teach me? Of course I can. When did you take it? Only last week. Okay? And then naturally they'll ask you how much. And you would say, $1,000. Okay, so you keep 500 and send 500 to me. That's how it operates nowadays. Franchise system. Like Starbucks and so on. So, so we're not into that. So please don't become instructors immediately. I don't want that money. So practice first before you start teaching others. Don't set up shop. Unfortunately, this is an age we are passing through where there are more gurus than disciples. So many. Disciples are at a premium, very difficult to find. In fact, people learn Kriya from me in 3 weeks, they are gurus themselves. What to do? I mean, so anyway, it's up to you. So anyway, as far as possible, don't set up shop. If you have learned Kriya along with somebody else, you can practice together, discuss matters and so on. Try to sort it out. No harm. Clear? Alles klar? Okay. Alles klar. Now we will... you can keep that on till we practice. After that you can switch it off. Give me a hand mic. Huh? Okay. I'm asked to hang this on my neck. So, his hand became bigger than this. It's okay. As long as you think these are arms. Now, like an E.T. Now, if it's this way, and then the left side is the Ida. You don't have to by heart. In the right side is the Pingala. Normally, for all things that we need to do on this earth, if the prana flows from either the Ida or the Pingala, it's good enough. Absolutely fine, no problem. In fact, certain things are done better when it is here, and certain things are done better when it is more onto this side. There is a science, separate science for that, called Swara Yoga, where you know that you have to do this activity at this time, when this is working. Both work, of course. It's not that, unless you have sinus, both work. But one is always stronger than the other. Every 33.5 minutes, it shifts from one to the other. This is the science. So, activities like eating, drinking, exercise, sex, physical activity, are done perfectly when more energy is flowing through the Pingala. Activities like listening to music, arts, aesthetics, that kind of thing is done better when the energy is moving through the Ida, left. And the wonderful thing is that these energies are linked to your breath. So if you can manipulate your breath, train your breath, you can decide which is flowing when and how to change it. We don't have to study that. We need to do Kriya. So don't worry about that. Except that, remember, that if you lie down on your left side for a long time, the right will start working more. And if you lie down on your right side for a while, then the left will start working more. This is one way of shifting, but there are other ways. So if you're going for an interview, it's a good thing to have your right work. Why? Because it affects that part of the brain which is connected to practical matters. Because we have the left brain and the right brain, and they work together, but they all have their departments. So the Ida and Pingala are connected, and the control of the breathing is connected to the left and the right brain functions. You can shift it at will by lying down. Now, if both are equal, then the energies are flowing through the central channel called the Shushumna. Whether this channel, with its branches on either side, is the spinal system, central nervous system, or the vagus nerve system, we don't have to go into the controversy, but definitely something is happening there. And this is where the left and the right nadis cross here. So this is called the Ajna center. And the yogis call the left channel Varuna and the right channel Asi, two rivers. And for the yogi, therefore, Varanasi is here, where the Varuna and the Asi cross each other, come together. For the yogi, Varanasi is here, and Shiva sits here. So, not so much in Banaras. You carry your own Banaras with you. So, now the process of Kriya is how to get all the prana, most of the prana, except that required for survival of the body, down to the Muladhara, which is the last center. And from there, open this path and clear it so that your awareness can ascend from the gross to the subtle until it reaches there. And in the process, many worlds are opened up. Why we don't see all that or experience all that? Because for most of us, the energies are only functioning in the lowest center called the Muladhara, which you might call the Muladhara root foundation. The root, R-O-O-T, root, and foundation is Dhara, Adhar. Adhar card. Anybody has Adhar? We are not going to give Kriya unless you produce your Adhar card. Please record this and send it to India. So, this is the system and this is the practice. Okay, now I'm going to write down, you don't have to memorize them, but I'm going to write down the names of the centers and the symbols. So please understand that the thing about memory that we discussed in the morning has nothing to do with memory failure and amnesia, otherwise I can't remember anything. It's completely different stuff. It's a very peculiar name, Anahata, which means sound that is unstuck. Almost like saying, can you clap with one hand? Nothing strikes, but there is a sound. So that's the Anahat. And then here is the Vishuddhi, pure center. This is the Ajna, which is considered to be the third eye. Please, you can't touch it by drilling your forehead. Please understand this. It doesn't work that way. Because I heard there are some people who go around drilling their heads to reach the Sahasrara. It doesn't work. You only end up with a hole on the head. So, it simply means that there is a center here, which is called the Ajna, which is the crossing point of three nadis, central, right and left. And it's the highest center before the last, the second next. And it's in some way connected to some parts of your brain inside, which are needed to be awakened to get to understand subtle realities. I would go to that tomorrow because we have 1 hour only now. It's something to do with your pineal gland and your pituitary and some other parts, Sahasrara. So we go to that tomorrow. But so this is the general picture. Now, the symbol here is a square. because square represents matter, the earth. The color is also golden yellow, which is the earth, which means here, your awareness is in this world of solids, concrete realities, what we think are concrete realities. When the awareness ascends from here to here, in the next center, which is symbolized by a crescent moon, is the center of what is called apas tattva, watery, which means liquid. Next stage in matter, from solid to liquid. In the tattvas, it's called apas, which means watery. And it's represented by this crescent moon, because it's connected to your imagination, to your dream state, where you can travel wherever you want to go without a jet plane. And, well, if you know how to, in the dream. And then it is also luminous, because even though you're sleeping, your eyes are shut, you see the dream in full color. There is light, there is no darkness inside. So it's also called Tejasa. So, and also the crescent shape, one is it's connected to imagination, which is symbolized by Luna. Only when it runs riot that you become a tick. Otherwise, Luna is all right. Imagination. So that, and it's very important for us, this capacity to visualize, which animals don't have. Some animals are very intelligent, but they don't have the capacity to visualize. And this whole, what we call civilization, is a result of visuals. We visualize something and it becomes a reality. This capacity is something that we possess as human beings. And that center is here. And it is connected to the moon. It's also the shape, because all liquids in the natural state, if you look at the top, they're never straight. They're like this. There is a lower meniscus and there is an upper meniscus. Right. So, when your awareness is lifted from here to here, here, then you have gone from solid to liquid, subtler. Then this is the center of fire, the upturned triangle. Apex up, Aruna Prabham, it's like the color of fire, and it's the center of combustion from where solid and liquid is further purified and made subtler. So when your awareness becomes subtler, it's represented by the anahat, which the color is sky blue, and it's called the Vayu Tattva, or the principle of air, which means vapor. So you have come from physical, solid to liquid to vapor, which means the awareness is going from gross to subtle and subtle. And then you come here, this is called the Vishuddhi Chakra, supposed to be indigo in color. And it represents something called Akasha. Now, in material sciences, there is no such thing called Akasha because it's not been included. Akasha means the primeval homogeneous mass of matter in its original state, before it becomes other things, before it differentiates itself. This is called Akasha. And Akasha is represented by the Vishuddhi. So what's happening is that your awareness is climbing from solid gross to higher and subtler levels. When it comes here, it's reached the level of Akasha, from which everything comes and everything goes back. Primeval matter. Still not differentiated. And then from there you come to the Ajna. When the awareness is taken to the Ajna, the center here, then the other instrument of perception in your system, called the third eye, begins to operate. It's not here, it's deep inside. If you draw a line from the crown of the head down, if you draw a line from here straight, inside the brain where they meet, that is the real ajna. This is a symbol outside. If you see any painting or picture of Shiva, because nobody has photographed, you'll see a mark here. It's called the third eye. Both eyes are closed and this is open. So, single eye. Somebody said, therefore if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. I don't know who said it. And then when your awareness is lifted to the top, here, then you are no more limited by the ordinary senses. Your visions are much bigger. You're a multi-dimensional being. You're no more confined to this petty little self at something much beyond, which nobody can explain. So that's where it is. And it's not theory, it's not my imagination. If you practice Kriya regularly and go step by step, also following the other principles and understanding the background which we discussed yesterday and today morning, then I think any person can touch that. Depends on your work and many other backgrounds. So this is the practice of Kriya. And since, just as I said, these energies are linked to your breath, so Kriya teaches you a form of rhythmic breathing by which you can manipulate your breathing and connect it to the energy, prana, and make it ascend to higher levels of awareness, which is always accompanied by intense, blissful experiences. If you have painful experiences, then you're not doing something right. It's always a blissful experience. It's an experience where your mind expands. If you're not prepared enough, you might even behave like a lunatic. So you have to be careful what you do, how you do. Moderation in everything, eating, drinking. Because we are going to drink something which is more powerful than that which comes in the bottle. That spirit. This spirit is a little different from that spirit, but then both are drunks. So, what's the time? Hello? 8 minutes. In this 8 minutes, I'm going to tell you about drunkards. Ouch. I think most of you would have heard of, many of you, of a great yogi who was probably the first man to come west with the message of the Upanishads and the practice of yoga and so on, was Swami Vivekananda. In fact, they are the Vedanta centers. So his teacher, his master, his name was Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. I think if you asked him, he wouldn't have said, my name is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He would have simply said Gadadhar Chattopadhyaya. So, it just happened apparently many years ago, when Swami Vivekananda as a young man had still not entered the picture, the biography. One day, Ramakrishna was traveling with two assistants along the streets of Calcutta in a horse buggy. Those days. And people used to refer to him as Thakur. The Thakur was traveling in the buggy. Suddenly, he looked out and saw a man completely drunk, reeling on the footpath. So he started shouting, "Stop, stop." So they stopped. So he got off, ran to the footpath, hugged him, and said, "Hey, brother, you and I are drunks. Huh? You're enjoying, I'm enjoying. You drink something, I drink something else, but we are drunks. We have reached Ishq ka Maikhada, that means the tavern of Ishq. And we are enjoying. You are enjoying, I am enjoying. So we are drunks." And he wouldn't let go of him. That guy was perplexed because he was really drunk. And then with great difficulty they managed to take him back. And he went off. But that's not the end of the story. The end of the story, several years later, when one of the monks of the Ramakrishna order were standing in the headquarters of the mission, there is a temple of Ramakrishna there. Now there is an image. Those days there was only a picture, a photograph. There was a photograph of Ramakrishna in the sanctum sanctorum, because Swami Vivekananda said, "I have seen no God except what artists have painted, but this one I have seen." So it was there. And then he saw a tall man with matted hair, wearing just a loin cloth, walk up. And he looked at this young monk and asked him, "Can I hug that picture inside the sanctum?" He said, "We don't allow people to get into the sanctum. Sorry, but why do you want to do it?" He said, "You won't remember because you were not there then. One day I was so drunk. I was reeling on the street in Calcutta near the Esplanade. And a buggy stopped, and this guy who is in that photograph, he came down and he hugged me and wouldn't go. He said, 'You're a drunk, I'm a drunk, brother.' And with great difficulty they pulled him away. From that day I haven't had a drop of alcohol, but I'm always drunk." So, this is the guy, so can I hug him? So Swamiji said, "Okay, fine, do it." So he said that he went and hugged him, and without looking or talking, he just walked away. Nobody knows where he went. So what I mean to say is that we are in this path. We may think we are denying ourselves many things, but we are actually celebrating. We are leaving aside the little trinkets so that we find the big treasure. So it's a joyful. How many people know Urdu here? There's a beautiful poem sung by a Sufi, a great Sufi, who said, "Akhal ke madrase se ut," you get up from the school of the intellect. "Ishq ke mai khade mein," come to the tavern of joy, intoxication. Jame fana wa bekhudi ab to piya. Now that you have drunk the wine of annihilation of the ego, jo ho so ho, what happens? Let it happen. Let's enjoy. So from evening we are going to get drunk. So, thank you. We'll meet in the evening and continue. Now we'll go to the practicals, don't worry.